Warning in effect until 4:15 p.m. for Colbert and Franklin counties. Tornado warning in effect until 4:15 for Colbert and Franklin counties. This entire storm is moving to the east-northeast. It's not the fastest moving storm in the world. It's only moving at about 25 miles per hour. If you don't mind, let's flip over to our shear rate. So we can kind of get an idea of what kind of rotation we're talking about. And compared to what I just showed you a couple of minutes ago, it does look like our shear is kind of backing off just a little bit. It doesn't look as intense as it did just 5 or 10 minutes ago when we were first talking about this. Still some of those brighter greens indicating a change in wind speed and elevation with height. And that's a pretty decent indicator that we would be talking about maybe a little bit of wind shear within this storm, indicating some pockets where there could be a little bit of rotation. So again, we have nothing confirmed just yet, but we are talking about a radar-indicated tornado warning for Colbert and Franklin counties. Tornado warning does run until 4:15 p.m. So we still got just a few more minutes with that tornado warning, and actually it just updated there on the scan. You can kind of see that area of increased shear. Again, those brighter greens getting into those darker reds. That would be in northern Franklin County, just to the northeast of Red Bay. So I think this is a storm we're going to want to continue to watch over the next couple of minutes. Kind of want to switch it over to our velocity image. And actually, it does look like we're getting a fair amount of rotation there. Emily, if you don't mind zooming in on that and then maybe circling it if you would. Kind of pinpoint this area just to the north of Dempsey, just to the south of Rock Creek. You can kind of see this convergence of those reds and those greens, and that would indicate an area of some enhanced rotation. And there with that radar update, it kind of went away. But I still think that's an area that we're going to continue to watch over the next couple of minutes. Wrong. I do. Wrong button, Emily. I'll let you take control of the radar and take us back over to that warning area. I hit the wrong button, and I also believe I hit the wrong radar. So let's go. I'm going to let Emily take control of the map. It'll make things a little easier here over the next couple of seconds. But again, a tornado warning is in effect for Colbert and Franklin counties until 4:15 this afternoon. Colbert and Franklin counties until 4:15 this afternoon. This is radar indicated. It's been going back and forth. Here's what this looks like on base reflectivity. A lot of very heavy rain associated with this storm, indicated by those darker reds and those purples. This is just to the north of Pleasant Site. As a matter of fact, Pleasant Site, you are included in this tornado warning. You really need to be in your tornado safe place. If you're in Rock Creek, you are just out of the warning, but you really need to be in your tornado safe place. Even if you're in Frankfort, yeah, you're out of the warning, but you really, I do think, need to be in your tornado safe place in the rather immediate future. This storm is moving to the east at about 25 miles per hour. So that's something we're going to be mindful of over the next couple of minutes as this storm continues to evolve. If you don't mind switching it back over to our shear rate, I want to see if we're still talking about that impressive shear that we were noticing just a couple of seconds ago. That's our velocity. I don't notice real hard stanced rotation there on our velocity image. Maybe some very broad rotation, but for the most part, I really don't see anything that's really eye-catching. Switch it over to our shear rate if you don't mind. And again, it does look like that shear has backed off in the updated radar scan. It's kind of been going back and forth over the last couple of radar scans. It kind of picks up and then it goes away. There still may be a little bit of wind shear within this storm, but for the most part, it does actually look like it's weakening, and it kind of looks like it's more focused in the Franklin County area. Not a whole lot going on right now up into Colbert County. But nonetheless, Colbert County is included in the tornado warning, but it does look like our area of focus is going to be down into Franklin County, where we have been talking about some areas of increased shear with off and on radar updates. Right now, it doesn't look like we're actually talking about a lot of wind shear. You can see some of those brighter greens indicating an elevated change in that wind speed and wind direction with height. So this is something that we're going to continue to watch over the next 15 or 20 minutes. It's right around 3:56. This tornado warning does not expire until 4:15. So if you're just joining us, tornado warning in effect for Colbert and Franklin counties until 4:15. This is a radar indicated tornado. We have nothing confirmed on the ground, so that's certainly some good news there, that this is just radar indicated. And this is all part of a much bigger system that's going to continue to evolve and move through the Tennessee Valley over the next several hours. Emily, if you don't mind going over to a regional radar, you'll find that over in my show. There's a regional radar with a surface analysis. I want to kind of talk about our overall setup, and I can do that better by showing you our regional radar. This is all associated with a massive area of low pressure. This area of low pressure is gradually going to move into the Ohio Valley over the next couple of hours. And as it does, this warm front, we've been talking about this warm front and how crucial it is over the last couple of days. This warm front is gradually going to lift to the northeast. And as it does, a rather unstable air mass is going to begin to move into North Alabama and even up into southern Middle Tennessee as we head into the middle and later part of the evening. But at this point, this warm front has lifted north of northwest Alabama, Colbert and Franklin counties. And so we're beginning to see a little more in the way of further development. We're seeing those storms kind of get their acts together. So now we do have that tornado warning. But again, we also have a tornado watch in effect for some of our counties. If you wouldn't mind flipping over to that tornado watch really quick, so we can talk about that. Tornado watch currently in effect for Colbert, Franklin, Lawrence counties, and Cullman County in North Alabama. That tornado watch is not going to expire until 7 o'clock this evening. It comes with an extra tag. It is actually a PDS tornado watch. What does that mean? Well, that is a particularly dangerous situation. That essentially means as this warm front lifts north, we're going to be sitting under this environment that is favorable for the development of some incredibly severe storms, whether that's damaging winds with straight line winds in excess of 70 or 80 miles per hour, or some more long track intense tornadoes that could be anywhere between EF2 to EF5 as far as their severity is concerned. We can head back over to our radar and talk about our tornado warning that we do have in effect for Colbert and Franklin counties. Again, tornado warning in effect for Colbert and Franklin counties. It looks like the area of rotation that we're actually going to watch is kind of moving in to the Rock Creek area. It looks like this storm is moving to the east-northeast, maybe even a little more northeast than it is actually moving to the east at about 25 miles per hour. I'm not really seeing anything overly impressive on our velocity image. It looked a little more impressive when we looked at our shear, but I don't really have anything jumping out at me as far as a velocity image is concerned that would show a real significant hard and fast area of rotation. So that is certainly some good news there, that we're not talking about any solid rotation as far as a velocity image is concerned. But if you don't mind swishing it over to our shear rate again, our shear rate has been picking up on a fair amount of rotation within this storm. And again, it looks like the area that we're going to focus on isn't even necessarily up into Colbert County. It looks like the area that we're going to continue to focus on is down into Franklin County. At this point, we're just to the northwest of Belgreen. We would just be to the southwest of Frankfort, just to the southeast of Pleasant Site. And then we're at this point directly to the west of Russellville. Russellville is not included in the tornado warning, and neither is Frankfort or Belgreen. I was just trying to give you a sense of direction. We are still talking about maybe a little bit of rotation as we go up in altitude. Our shear rate is a really great tool. It allows us to see a change in wind speed and wind direction as we go up in altitude. When you get that change in wind speed and wind direction, it's a pretty good indicator that we'd be talking about some solid rotation, and that's indicated here by these brighter greens. It has looked more impressive in a couple of other radar scans when we've gotten into the darker reds. That would indicate a real change in wind speed and wind direction with height. So this is something that we're going to continue to pay attention to. Still got about another 14 minutes on this tornado warning. Now, it's important to note that the warm front has not lifted all the way north up into North Alabama. Really our most unstable air mass is going to be where this tornado warning has developed across Colbert and Franklin counties and then up into Lawrence County. So I expect there's a chance that as this storm, we can go back to our reflectivity. I expect there's a chance that as this storm continues to move to the east-northeast, it may actually have a difficult time holding itself together as it continues to travel to the northeast and enter an area that is less favorable for severe weather. Now, we do have the tornado warning here in Colbert and Franklin County associated with some stronger thunderstorms, but if we look at the Tennessee Valley as a whole, there is actually a lot of thunderstorm activity going on. Some pockets of heavier rain down around Decatur, down around Hartselle, across the I-65 corridor, really up until we get to the Alabama and Tennessee border. There is quite a bit of heavy rain and some embedded thunderstorms with those. We could see some gusty winds. Now, none of this activity along the I-65 corridor is severe, but nonetheless, we are talking about some pockets of heavier rain. And Emily's actually zooming out for us because it's been an active day a little further down I-65. As a matter of fact, you can switch it over to the Birmingham radar if you want, and we can kind of get a clear look. I don't want to spend too much time on these tornado warnings just because they are well out of our viewing area, but it has been a really active afternoon. And as a matter of fact, this is south of Birmingham at this point, but look at that real solid rotation that Emily's showing you. And this is just kind of a taste of what's been going on this afternoon down I-65. South of Birmingham, really in between Birmingham and Montgomery, they've had a really active afternoon with some impressive tornado signatures, several confirmed tornadoes. But I want to go back up north into North Alabama. I don't want to focus too much on that, but it is still worth a note that it has been an incredibly active day across central and south Alabama. Some broad rotation Emily's trying to pick up here just to the west of Dempsey. Looks like that would be just to the east of Seven Pines, maybe a little bit of broad rotation. You can see those reds and those greens trying to converge just a little bit, but there's a fair amount of gray in between that area of convergence. So it would tell me that this is a relatively broad area of rotation. But still, we do have the tornado warning in effect for Colbert and Franklin counties. That is going to run until 4:15 p.m., so we still got about another 10 minutes on that. Would you mind switching it over to our shear rate, please? I want to see if it really looks any better on a shear rate than it does maybe on a velocity image. And no, it's really not all that impressive. We are seeing that change in wind speed and direction with height. Again, kind of where we saw that broader rotation. This is, again, just to the north of Dempsey, but it's still nothing overly impressive that would give me any indication that there is actually any sort of tornado on the ground. So certainly some good news there, but still we are talking about some very heavy rain, and you can see that very clearly on our reflectivity image, that we are talking about some very heavy rain as indicated by those darker reds getting down into those yellows and really up into those pinks. It looks like the heaviest rain is falling right around the Rock Creek area, and Emily has done a really good job at putting on our hail swath for us. There's a lot of hail associated with this storm, back all the way into Belmont, up through Pleasant Site. If you're in the Pleasant Site community, and it's safe to do so, if you've seen any hail, if you could, please let us know. You can text that information to us. The number's 256-382-2692. If you know anybody in the Rock Creek area, maybe get a hold of them, check in on them, see how they're doing. They really need to be in their tornado safe place. They are on the very edge of this tornado warning, but they are talking about a lot of very heavy rain and a little bit of embedded hail as well. And maybe if folks in the Frankfort area would be talking about a little bit of embedded hail as well associated with this. But it's still a severe storm nonetheless. Still maybe talking about some very broad rotation. Emily's going to go ahead and put a track. Again, this storm is moving to the east-northeast at about 25 miles per hour, so we can kind of zoom things out just a little bit and see what we're talking about. Emily's gone ahead and put a track. We've got Rock Creek by 4:12, Frankfort by 4:15. Now everything after Frankfort, the warning would have expired. Jonesboro by 4:19, New Bethel by 4:21, Hester Heights by 4:23. If this storm holds itself together, we'd be talking about Littleville by 4:25. But again, that is beyond this tornado warning. This tornado warning does expire at 4:15, so a little less than 10 minutes yet. Tuscumbia, again, if the storm holds itself together, off into Tuscumbia by right around 4:29, 4:30. Spring Valley by 4:30. Muscle Shoals by 4:31. Again, that is pending this entire storm actually does manage to hold itself together. It would continue to travel east-northeast at about 25 miles per hour and eventually make it up into the shoals. We're talking about a lot of very heavy rain associated with this storm. So if there does come a time when a tornado does touch down, I think it would be very difficult to see because any tornado would be rain wrapped. And we are going to continue to talk about the threat for tornadoes over the next several hours. As a matter of fact, a PDS tornado watch is in effect. A PDS means a particularly dangerous situation until 7 o'clock this evening for Colbert, Franklin, Lawrence, and Cullman counties. Colbert County was actually added within about the last 15 minutes. Emily, you can confirm or deny this. I just got a notification. I'm kind of wondering if maybe they're going to go ahead and replace the tornado warning with a severe thunderstorm warning. Is Emily's mic on? Can we turn Emily's mic on? I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, there
yes.
we go.
So I will confirm that they did go ahead and issue a severe thunderstorm warning for the storm in Colbert County. This will last until 4:45. So it does look like the storm is starting to weaken just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and swap it on over to the velocity data. Velocity is kind of where we check to see if we've got any rotation. Notice how there's some green within this red. You have the outbound wind and the inbound wind, and when we start to pick up these better colored pixelized areas, that's where we're starting to see that rotation. And it looks like it's very broad right now. So this storm is just going to remain radar indicated for the time being. This tornado warning will actually be allowed to expire within the next 9 minutes if they do decide to let it expire. But it looks like they're just going to go ahead and continue with the severe thunderstorm warning. They do have the tornado possible tag with this, so just know that in the meantime, this severe thunderstorm warning that we're talking about could be swapped over to a tornado warning, so just be mindful of that. But like we mentioned earlier, severe thunderstorm warning, this will last until 4:45. This will include Colbert, Franklin, and Lauderdale counties. We could also see some 60-mile-per-hour winds with this, so there's that yellow polygon that we've been waiting to pop up. But this is going to go ahead and be issued downstream from that tornado warning. It looks like they're not going to go ahead with this tornado warning to take it on over into Colbert and Lauderdale counties. So that is some good news, but we also still could see 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts with this. But we've been watching these storms pretty much rotate throughout the entire day today, so just know that at any given time, these discrete cells could pop a rotation, and we could have a tornado within any of these cells. So just because we only have one tornado warning right now doesn't mean that this is all that we're going to be seeing throughout the day today. So I'll go ahead and swap this back on over to the radar, and notice how we've got some of the red and the purple areas. That indicates some very heavy rainfall that we're seeing. This could lead to some localized flooding issues. So not only are we dealing with the rain threat, we're also dealing with a potential hail threat as well. I'll go ahead and throw over the hail swap, and notice these purple areas. That's indication of some areas that we've seen some hail. Some hail that we see today and later on into the evening, into the overnight. Some of this could be up to tennis ball size. Right now we don't have any reports of what size this is so far. And we're also not seeing any reports of any damage right now, so that's definitely some good news. So we're just going to continue to monitor this storm, and like I said, it looks like it's going to be allowed to expire right around 4:15. Yeah, so we'll just kind of recap what Emily said over the last couple of minutes. We had a tornado warning in effect, and as a matter of fact, technically we still do for about another 5 minutes for Colbert and Franklin counties. It does look like that storm has weakened enough as it's moved to the east-northeast that they're going to allow the tornado warning to expire at 4:15. I still want to stick with you until at least 4:15, and that tornado warning is then going to be replaced
by a severe thunderstorm warning. Cedar Hill Estates, you're probably getting some very heavy rain, maybe even a little bit of hail right now. Bear Creek, probably getting some very heavy rain, maybe even a little bit of embedded hail. Probably some gusty winds as well, like Emily mentioned. Could be talking about some winds embedded within this thunderstorm, 60 to 70 miles per hour. So that's certainly strong enough to do some damage. Up into the shoals, you're probably talking about some heavy rain for the time being, but I expect that heavy rain would actually pick up probably within the next couple of minutes. And then here we've got Highway 43 talking about some very heavy rain. But again, that rain should pick up in the next probably 5, 10, 15 minutes at the most. And then we'd be talking about some very gusty winds, some embedded hail. Like Emily said, some of the forecast trends over the last couple of days have hinted at the possibility that we could be talking about some very sizable hail, as a matter of 2 inches in diameter. And hail of that magnitude can actually do a lot of damage. So if you are in Bear Creek, if you're in Cedar Hill Estates, if you're in the Shoals, if you're even up into Florence, I think this is going to be something you want to be mindful of as we go throughout the next 15, 20, 25 minutes, really up until about 5 o'clock. This severe thunderstorm warning is going to be in effect until 4:45. And while it is not tornado warned, it is still a very impressive thunderstorm that we're talking about in northwest Alabama, as this storm has entered an area that is slightly more favorable for some enhanced development. And that's something we're finally beginning to see now as we get into the later part of the afternoon, and eventually we're going to transition into the evening. And by the time we get to the evening, I think we're going to be talking about an area that is even more favorable for the development of thunderstorms. Let's switch back over to our regional radar that had our surface analysis on it, and we can kind of talk about what we're expecting as we head into the next several hours. So we've got this area of low pressure that's gradually going to begin to move into the Ohio Valley over probably the next 2 or 3 hours. And as it moves into the Ohio Valley, this warm front is going to continue to lift northeast. It's kind of been taking its time this afternoon, lifting to the northeast, and because it's been taking its time, this really unstable air mass has kind of been hanging out to our west and southwest. But as this warm front lifts to the northeast, this unstable air mass is going to begin to move up into the Tennessee Valley, and it's going to come at a time where this cold front is eventually going to draw closer to the Tennessee Valley as well. And along this cold front is going to be an impressive and very robust line of showers and thunderstorms that's going to be able to merge and kind of combine with these discrete supercells that we've seen across central and south Alabama and even up across north Alabama. And that's kind of going to set the stage for what is going to potentially be a volatile situation, especially as we get into the evening and then early into the overnight. If you don't mind switching over to our timing graphic, I can go ahead and show you that as well. So here's what this looks like as far as a time frame is concerned. 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. across northwest Alabama. That would involve Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, and Lawrence counties.
Hey, Jordan.
Yeah,
I'm going to butt in really quickly just to say that they did allow the tornado warning to expire. So we currently have no active tornado warnings at this time.
So certainly some good news there. The tornado warning for Colbert and Franklin County has been allowed to expire. But now we're going to kind of begin to change our focus over the next couple of hours into what is classified as round 3 of potential severe weather. And again, that's going to move into the Tennessee Valley, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. across northwest Alabama, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. across the I-65 corridor, and then 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. across northeast Alabama. And I'm going to go into greater detail on this at WZDX News at 5. We're going to add an extra hour, or an extra half hour, excuse me, to our 5:30 newscast, and myself and Connor Board are actually going to join you in about 45 minutes at 5 o'clock. So let's have one last look at our radar, and then we'll get you back over to your programming. Again, the tornado warning, you can still see the box there. The tornado warning has been allowed to expire. As a matter of fact, it officially expired about 45 seconds ago. Now we are left with a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for all of northwest Alabama, Lauderdale, Colbert, and Franklin County. That severe thunderstorm warning does not expire until 4:45. Our biggest concern is going to be some gusty, damaging winds in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour, some very heavy rain, and this storm does have a history of producing hail. So I'm going to leave you with that. We're going to continue to monitor these storms, especially over the next 45 minutes, over the next couple of hours. And if we need to, we'll break back into programming. But regardless, we'll see you at 5 o'clock for a special edition of WZDX News. We'll send you back to regular programming.